Hello guys, it's Monday again, and Mike is already hard at work removing lamp bulb holders from the back of here so we can wire up the back box with LEDs, and that'll finish the modification for lighting to this box. For today, I've brought along a couple of things. I've brought some modified code to load in the processor, which Mike, let me get over there and show them the processor just so they can see it. So the processor is sitting right back in here, so it's a little hard to get to, but I'm gonna hook my laptop up to that and download that code real quick. And then we'll check that out to see if I fixed all the light problems that we had. And then for a special treat down here, if you can see, I've breadboarded up a quick little 12 LED light thing with a red and yellow light and a common supply that we are going to attach to this board right here, and then plug it back into that table right there and see how well that works in comparison to the light bulbs that used to be in there. So those are just a few of the things we have planned for today. So I'll bring you guys back when I have the new code downloaded and we're checking out the light bulbs. Okay, I have the new modified code loaded in the processor, and a quick look while in attract mode. We've noticed a couple of things, and what we don't know is whether they're supposed to work or not, but that 5 isn't blinking. It may not blink in attract mode, we don't know. You can see that we fixed the reds and the blues. That problem is fixed, and those are really nice looking. And also we fixed the turning on all the lights here, so that's working. The 8-ball I know does not light in attract mode, so we'll have to go into game. The other thing I fixed was the strobe lights, and we'll have to get the gameplay going to get that flashing. So
chalk up.
Yeah, I don't know what we did. Yeah, that's strobing now. This one.
oh, that one's not strobing at all. Okay, so I obviously made a boo-boo because this one is strobing, and this is basically the main one, and I copy it over to there, but that one's not strobing, so I did something bad. I might try to fix that right here, and because maybe I just left it commented out or something. Yeah, so let's see if we can get the 5.
Well, we can't.
These
targets have to drop, and that's what advances this.
Okay.
And apparently we don't have the solenoid
driver reset thing.
Yeah.
And again, that the problem that we're talking about here is we don't have the solenoid expansion set up, so we need to figure out what's causing that. Let me take a quick look at the code and see if I can figure out if I did something wrong to the strobe lights over here on the right. And
I noticed this pattern too. You've probably got something switched because it's strobing like 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, interesting. I will check all of that out. So anyway, we'll be back in a little bit. Okay guys, so I looked at my code and I couldn't find anything wrong, so I went back to the old code, and then you can see I only have the one light on there. That definitely shows that it's the old code that's running. However, I made some changes in the library, and so some of the fixes that I made are working, like the blue lights are blue now and stuff like that, so that's in there. But the flashing, the lights are on now, but they're not flashing like the ones on the other side are. And I'm very confused because I really shouldn't have affected any of that stuff. And also some of the lights down here aren't working right. So we're really not sure what's going on right now. There's definitely some
Shoot for 8-ball corner pocket.
Yeah, we can't shoot for the 8-ball, never could. Okay, so it
We
doesn't,
got something
Shoot
wrong here.
for B.
What you're hearing is the progression of this lane.
yeah,
It shouldn't be.
I agree. There's something has gotten askew. So I'm not sure that we're going to get to fix this tonight because this seems to be a bug that's been injected in the code in a rather strange way. So I can work on that stuff better back on my computer at home. So I think we might stop that for the time being. Continue on. Mike has just about got this stripped off. He's only got a few things in there. But anyway, we'll work on something else. Okay, I'm down here at the shed on Thursday just for a quick software test. I found a couple of bugs in my code that have been there forever, and I'm not sure why this ever worked, if these bugs are actually going to fix the problem. But I've just uploaded the code, and I am about to turn the machine on and see if anything has changed.
Ball Deluxe. 5-ball.
Okay, so it looks like that is fixed, and that was a simple thing. It does look like these lights are flashing, so that wasn't working before, so that's a good sign. Those are still steady on, all but one for some reason. It's the same way on the other side, but an interesting note. Notice that on this side, the top light is out. On this side, the top light is on, but the second light is out. So that's telling me that there's a copy problem in my copy routine. I don't know which side is correct and which one isn't, but let me hit play and see what happens.
2-ball. Chalk up.
So, okay. So for some bizarre reason, that one light is staying off now, but everything else seems to be working correctly. Every time I work on this thing, it gets a little more confusing, but this is better. Let's see here. Let me see if I can tell if they seem to be strobing up together. Okay, I'm just going to record this for a while so I can view it in slow motion and see if I can understand the mapping of how things are mapping out. Okay, so that's going to be it. So basically, some things have gotten better, so I think the fix has definitely fixed something. I just need to straighten out those, and I think we will have something working. So I'll be back later on for another test. Okay, it's a little dark in here because I have all the lights turned off except for the pinball machine. It's getting to afternoon, so there's a little low light coming in from the outside. But I just wanted to show how I hooked this thing up to my laptop. I'm in the process of uploading my latest change. This didn't fix anything from the previous version. All it did was set the light colors for the original lights that the computer is turning on, so that I can make sure that they're mapped correctly, and so I can figure out which of the lights is not actually turning on. And then maybe I'll do a couple of other quick little things. Not going to be here long, just trying to get some more data points so I can try and figure out this problem. It looked like my download failed, and that's probably because I have the wrong port number assigned. Okay, so I'll get the correct port number and I will re-upload it. So hopefully this time it will go. There you go. That looks better. Lights reset. Computer resets. Comes back on. Okay, I will disconnect my laptop and turn the machine on. Okay, so just by looking at this, I can definitely tell that I'm having some kind of issue because these lights should be red, green, blue, and purple. And you'll notice that every once in a while the light is changing colors. And that should never happen. It should blink, but it should never change colors. So that's an interesting little glitch too. You hit the game to start it. And
Chalk up. Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1 ball. Sink the 8 ball. Get the 8 ball corner pocket. Make the 8 ball corner pocket.
okay, now here's something really interesting. These lights are strobing, and those lights should be a copy of those lights which just went out. They had been steady on. Okay, I am very confused by what I am seeing here. Hello there, it is Monday again. Mike and I are down here at the shed. We're gonna, excuse me, we're gonna be working on the 8-ball Deluxe some more. But as usual, we have another distraction in our way. We picked up the Playboy pinball machine that we had down at our club that Mike and I belonged to, and we're going to be putting this thing back up and back together, getting the back glass, which is in that box, put in it just to keep everything safe before we continue on working on the 8-ball Deluxe table. Now, I just loaded a piece of test code I wrote, little bitty short thing that just stepped through all the lights. I wanted to see if that worked, and it did. It stepped through all the lights just fine. We're going to go back to diagnosing the code and seeing what's going on. But we'll be back as soon as we get that table stood back up, the back 2 legs put back on it, and the glass back in it. So this table that Mike is moving was the very first table that we renovated. It does not have the LED strings in it like our current tables do, but it does have LEDs in it. Plus, we replaced the high voltage score displays with LED displays also, so the table has a really good look. It does have a problem right now where the left flipper stops working every once in a while. I'm pretty sure it's just a bad connector on the solenoid driver board. So that's why we brought it back here to the shop to have a look at it and see if we can fix it. And Mike actually bought a replacement back glass for this table, but the quality of the table, the quality of the back glass was nowhere near as good as the original. Even though the original has a little bit of flaking down at the bottom, it still looked better than the new reproduction glass. So we just kept it. I can't get in there. So I'll bring you guys in here. There is footage a little bit up on the website of the renovation of this table, but it came out really sweet. So, so anyway, we're not going to work on this right now, though. It's just brought down here to be safe. Talk a little bit about 8-Ball Deluxe and some of the things that we need to do to this table. One, we've been having some intermittent problems on the table. One of the things I want to do is make sure that we have plenty of 5-volt power for the processors. So one of the things I want to start with is running 2 5-volt lines, one to the end of the LED string and one directly to the processor, so that everything is fed with a good clean 5-volt source. Another thing I want to do, because it seems like the board itself might be a little intermittent, I want to pull the processor board out and make sure that everything is seated down correctly, and all the connectors are on tight and everything. We're just not dealing with some loose connector or something like that that's causing some of our problems. And one of the big things I want to do today is troubleshoot these pop bumper or the slingshots down at the bottom. According to the schematic, this is a directly powered slingshot. When you make the contact on the switch, it fires the slingshot. I mean, well, through the processor it fires the slingshot, but there's just a cable from the solenoid driver board to the slingshot and nothing else. And so if the cable is plugged in and it's wired up to the slingshot, which it should be, those ought to be working. But when we took the table apart and transferred it, one of the things we found is a fuse block with 3 fuses in it that isn't on the schematic anywhere that I can find. And there is a possibility that maybe they've decided to fuse these slingshots that they didn't have before, and maybe we took the fuse out or something. So there may be something there. So anyway, we're just going to trace the wires back, figure out where they go, whether there's connectivity or not, and basically just get those slingshots working. So that should be a pretty minor troubleshooting thing, but hopefully we can find that and get those working. And then if time allows, maybe we'll try to get the solenoid expander board wired up and tested out. So that should be fun too. So right now what we're doing is drilling another hole in this rail back here so that this little plastic piece will line up with the hole in the Altec board. So Mike's going to try and catch the debris as it falls down, just to keep a little bit of it out of the...
Ready?
Okay, I've come in here a little tight so you can see we got that connected back up. We got one screw up in the upper corner with a standoff on there holding that. We got 4 standoffs on the main board, so it's nice and stable now. We connected all the connectors back up, and hopefully we will be able to work. We temporarily set the front of the back box up on top of the back box just to get it out of our way. And the first thing I need to do is download my latest version of code into the processor, and once I got that done, I'll bring you guys back. We'll turn the machine on, see what it does.
Because these are on.
Okay, so I've downloaded the code, and we just applied power. We haven't powered up the machine yet, but whenever I just apply power to the processor, the GIs come on, and we notice that one of the GIs under here isn't on, nor are the GIs there. So this intermittent-y kind of problem we were having seems to still be here. So it might be a code problem. Anyway, turn on the processor to get it started, and let's see what it does.
Ball Deluxe. 5 balls.
Okay, so these are on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
This is going to give us a problem.
ooh, yeah. Is it hitting the wood there?
I'm not sure.
It looks like it's hitting
It's.
the,
I think it's. It's
Right.
not. In line
It's
with
not
these.
in-
There's
okay.
something down there got it going on. But look, I like those colors.
So let me take you through here just a little bit to show you. Mike is saying that he really likes the colors on the LEDs, and you can see we have all 4 of the colors on there. Let's start a game off, and
Chalk up.
so did you hear that give a free game?
Yes.
Yeah, so
This is going to.
yeah, so let me, I forget how we, oh, okay, so we're back in the thing where this is, now the only change I've made in the software is that I turned the order of that scan around. So you can see that is scanning correctly now from the bottom to the top, but the one on the left is not scanning at all. So when I had my test code in there, I was able to walk all the way through all these lights without any problem. We still haven't hooked up the power line to this thing, so that's the next step. We're going to add more power to the string to see if one of the LEDs is maybe having a voltage sag problem and not passing the signal on down the line. So we're going to be lifting the table up, stringing some wires between the power supply and the one end of the string. I'll probably put you guys in hyperlapse and let you watch. So I changed my mind about filming this high speed. I'm just going to show you guys what we need. You can see my power supply dangling down here. We got the 5 volt and ground coming from that, and it comes up to here. And right over here on this side, which is the input of the signals actually, there's a power and ground connector, and I'm going to hook a wire onto that and bring it down to the power supply here also, so that we're feeding 5 volts in on both sides, plus that'll feed 5 volts up to the processor directly, and I think that should eliminate any potential power problems. I don't know if we have power problems or not, but that should get rid of them if we do. Okay, we finished the power wiring. You can see we got 2 wires coming from the power supply now. We extended them all the way up and hooked them into the connector. So there's one there. There's one over here on the other side. So that should be plenty of access. We'll dress them down a little better once we figure out where exactly we want to put that power supply. We're still going to have the power supply plugged into the utility outlet for right now, but eventually we're going to tap into the switched power coming in here and hook it up so it goes on and off with the machine when you flip the power switch. So let's go ahead and turn it back on and see if that made any difference. Okay, as you would expect, we have hooked up the power, and it hasn't really made much of a change. As you can see, these things should be flashing up, but the 5 isn't coming on. The 4 is staying on for long periods of time, and it shouldn't be. We think these should be flashing, and they're not. And these lights are kind of doing funny things. They don't look like they're working right either. So looks like we got some issues going on here. So this might be a software problem. I'm going to reload my test routine into the processor and just watch it step through all the lights, and that's going to help me determine what's going on. White, so they're stepping through each of the colors one at a time, making sure that I can index every light, and I can send every light through all of its color ranges, and that all looks like it's working fine. Did you see that?
I did.
So when I said, did you see that, there were some lights up in the upper part of the box that hadn't cleared, and they just cleared. I think we got a bad LED right in this general area here. I'm going to hit reset before this stops and have it start over again and see what it does. Reset button right there. Okay, just reset the code. See what happens. Everything went out, so that's not going to help me. Of course not. Oh well, we're going to stop on this again. We've got a couple of things going on. We got a solenoid that is staying stuck and it's energizing, and the solenoid's getting hot, so we're going to pull this unit back out, I guess. I don't see another way to work on it. I'm going to do some checking on the wiring on the slingshots, see if I can figure out why that's not working. We have this over here on the table. And sitting here on the table, it seems to be working just fine. So we're going to put it back in and see if maybe some wires were stuck on it or something that was causing it to malfunction. So this is not working still. The 2-ball still drops down by itself. And the one over here is sitting, actually, well, it was, I guess you straightened it out, but it was sitting crooked. Why don't you plug it in and have it reset and see what it does. Yeah, that coil energized as soon as you turn that on, and it's pushing in on that that thing, and then when it tries to reset,
it's pushed out and it won't pull back, and that's what's holding it up.
Correct. So what we have decided here is that this solenoid, there's a solenoid under here that knocks these things down to reset it back when a player gets like a second or third ball and he's already knocked down some of these targets. And this one, for some reason, is staying energized, and maybe the 2 is also, which might be why the 2 ball is always dropping down. We'll have to check that.
Right. It's top down.
But because of that, mechanically, when it's sitting on the bench, everything looks good, and we can hear this solenoid buzzing and holding this thing in, and more than likely that's caused by a bad solenoid driver board back in the back, or a short somewhere or something like that. We're going to have to check that out. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of our very short workday again today, and so we're going to have to leave this here. I do believe we got the slingshots working. Can we turn it on for just a second and see if those are working when we power it up, just to show the guys that we did something? I don't think it's powered on. I just want to see if it'll register the start a game.
Deluxe.
Okay, those still don't fire. So this may be a switch problem, not a solenoid problem, because when we run the solenoid test, Go ahead and run the solenoid test. Or, so I don't know if you guys saw that, but the solenoid did fire. That one's already energized, so it's not going to energize.
Yeah.
So you saw right there that that solenoid fired. So we have a switch problem here. So we're going to have to check out the switches. Okay, I want to do a quick little insert here just to show you what we've kind of figured out about what's going on with the drop targets. So to start off with, as I alluded to in a little teaser at the beginning of the thing, a lot of it has to do with the solenoid expander card not functioning. So if you look right here, you'll see the contacts for the solenoid expander. And since this cannot be energized, it is set in one position. So if you look over here on the left, you'll see that there are two solenoids that share a single control line. So when the computer wants to turn on either one of those two solenoids, it can only activate this one line. But depending on the state of the solenoid expander, we'll call it A or B. If it's in A, the saucer will kick off. If it's in B, the drop target reset for the 7 drop targets will reset, and that's the drop target that is the 7 balls, 1 through 7 or 9 through 15. And we know that that drop target reset is working. The thing that is not working is the 210 drop target reset. So the 210 is either the 2 ball or 10 ball, depending on whether you're playing solids or stripes. And this is the one that drops the target for you. Now you can see that it shares a control line with the 4 drop target reset. That's the 4 drop targets on the left side of the play field. Well, since the solenoid expander can't switch down to activate that 4 drop target reset, when the computer fires off the signal to do that reset, it actually drops the drop target instead. So that's why the 2 drop target is falling down. It's completely understandable. But if we scan on further down the table, the other target that's giving us a problem is the 715. This solenoid is always energized. And as you can see, it comes from the computer just through this solenoid and up to the source of the power. And that's it. There's nothing else in that circuit. So one of 2 things can be happening. Either this line got shorted to ground somewhere, stapled through it or something, or the solenoid driver, let me take you over to the solenoid driver board. Here's the solenoid driver board. It comes off right here off of pin 8 of J5, and more than likely this transistor is shorted out and holding that line down to ground all the time. That is my diagnosis right now, and we'll check that out the next time we're down there to see what it is. So that's an explanation of what we think is happening with those drop targets right now. So it's Tuesday morning, and even though I have over an hour's worth of video, I have to somehow trim down to about a half an hour or less. I thought about something, and I just had to come down to the shed and take a look at it. At the end of the last video, we had discovered that the slingshots were working, but the switches weren't. And I remembered that there were a couple of wires that had a red tag on them that needed to be reconnected somewhere, and we were just putting it off, not doing it. And I thought, I wonder if that goes to the switches. So I looked on the schematic, and it turns out that the common wire for the switches is a yellow wire with a red stripe. So let me show you what's on the machine here. So right here with this big red tag on it, see that big red tag? Is a yellow wire with a red stripe. And if you look at the switches over here, this common wire right there runs from there to there and is not connected to anything else. On the other side over here, there is a yellow wire connected to it. You can just barely see it in the cable there, which runs over here and is one of these two wires. So all we need to do is connect these two wires together and solder it onto there, and the slingshot problem will be fixed. So in 2 weeks, we fixed one problem. Not bad. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. So anyway, that's it for today. We'll be back here next week checking all this stuff out.